Okay, our next set of review problems deals with some definitions. Just very quickly, a scalene triangle has three different lengths for the three sides. No two sides are congruent, in other words. An isosceles triangle has at least two congruent sides. Okay, it's important to note that it has to be at least two congruent sides, which means it might be three congruent sides, which brings us to the next definition. An equilateral triangle does have three congruent sides, so therefore it's really just a special isosceles triangle. The next four definitions deal with the measures of the angles. An acute triangle has three acute angles. Every triangle is going to have at least two acute angles. An acute triangle has three acute angles. A right triangle has exactly one right angle. It's impossible to have more than one right angle because that would bring us to a total of 180 after just two angles, and we'd still have to add in a third angle. And likewise, for an obtuse triangle, you have one obtuse angle. For the same type of reasoning, you can't possibly have two obtuse angles, like 100 and, say, 95. They already total something more than 180 degrees, so therefore it's impossible to have more than one obtuse angle anyways. And equiangular triangle, equal angles. It has three equal or congruent angles. And if you think about it, if every triangle has a total of 180 for the sum of the interior angles of the triangle, if you divide that into three equal parts, another way of defining an equiangular triangle is to say that all three angles are equal to 60 degrees. Next problem. We have a perpendicular bisector. If you draw a perpendicular bisector for segment AB, this being segment AB, then any point on the perpendicular bisector, point C in particular, has to be the same distance away from point A as it is from point B. So the distance from A to C has to be equal to the distance from B to C. Now, even though I did not draw in the other two segments being referred to here, let's just get a different color. And we'll say the distance from B to point D, D being a point on the perpendicular bisector of segment AB, D has to be the same distance away from B as it is from point A. So these two segments have to be equal in length. Now they don't have to be equal to the two blue segments up at the top, but they have to be, the two purple segments have to be equal in length, and the two blue segments have to be equal in length. And if you have an angle bisector, as indicated here by the given information that you have an angle bisector, or you could see that as an angle bisector because we have a pair of 30-degree angles, any point on the angle bisector, so segment BD or ray BD is the angle bisector. Any point on the angle bisector is equidistant from the two sides of the angle. Now the distance from a point to a line is always measured along the perpendicular. So segment AD represents the distance from point D to line AB, besides representing the distance from point A to point D. It's the distance from point D to line AB. And likewise, segment CD is the distance from point D to line BC. So therefore, if it's a point on the angle bisector, they have to be equal. Now we have some statements of inequality. In a triangle, we refer to this as the side angle side inequality theorem. If you can find two pairs of corresponding sides that are congruent from one triangle to the other, so we have given to us that segment AB is congruent to segment CB, and we already know that segment BD is congruent to itself, so therefore we have those two statements satisfied. If the included angles are congruent, then the triangles are congruent, and all corresponding parts of the two triangles would be congruent. But obviously, the included angles are not congruent. So the side angle side inequality theorem states the longer of the third sides is from the triangle that has the larger included angle. So segment DC or CD is greater than segment AD, the corresponding segment from the triangle that had the smaller included angle. So segment AD is smaller than, less than, segment CD, which is the longer of the two segments. Hope this helped. Good luck.